Ian Parker, we are back at it again to bring our loving subscribers some free value to take straight to the pay window. I'm Cody Merrill, producer extraordinaire. I am joined as always by Ian Parker at Ian Parker MMA. Ian, how are you, my friend?
I'm good, man. Another weekend of fights. What could be better, right? Let's get it. Let's, as you and Coach say, to the pay window. Is it this way? I think it's this way.
I don't care where it is. As long as the money's green, that's where I'm headed. So let's not, waste any more time getting down into it. UFC Vegas 22, we're coming at you with a full preview here with odds from mybookie.ag is where we get all our lines. You can use promo code CoachPicks to get yourself a little bonus there if you are new to the site. Coming up first, Julija Avila minus 410 versus Julija Stoliarenko. Ian, the over 2.5 coming back at minus 180 there from my bookie. How do you see it going?
Minus 410 is a little bit rough in a straight play. I do think Julija Avila is the much better fighter here. I think she got a little bit of taste of humble pie in her last fight. Sometimes it's a good thing earlier in your career as opposed to when you get higher up the ladder. I think this is a good bounce back fight for her. So I wouldn't mind throwing Julija in a parlay with another big favorite, another two big favorites. So you at least you get some value there. And obviously, as we discussed with some of the women's fights, in the bottom part of the division, over at minus 180 is a nice play. The only reason why I might stay away from that is Julija Avila is one of the few women that really, she comes out of the gate full guns a-blazing, and we've seen her get some early finishes in her career. So unless she's being put on her back and grinded out, she may get the finish here. I would maybe even stay away from that over and just put Julija in some sort of parlay. Julija Avila, sorry. I know they're both Julija. Avila in a parlay later on in the card.
Well, and I won't make you say that last name, so I'll give you a little break there.
Which one? Stoliarenko? That one doesn't.
Oh, look at that. It sounds like a vodka name. Maybe that's why you're able to pick it out. Some college days coming back to help you out.
There you go.
That fight in the women's bantamweight division. So we move along to men's flyweight. JP buys minus 145, the Contender Series veteran, coming in against Gustavo da Silva plus 115. The over 2.5 coming back at minus 160 in the men's flyweight division. How do you see it going, Ian?
Yeah, you know what? Silva's a tough fighter, but I like what I saw to JP buys off the Contender Series. A lot of times I don't like to place bets on guys coming off the series because you just don't know how they're going to adjust to really being in the UFC. But Buys felt very comfortable. He felt experienced. He didn't seem fazed by Dana White sitting cage side. And as we'll discuss later, his wife is going to be on the card, so that may be a motivator here. And at minus 145, I don't mind taking a shot there. Under over in this type of fight is a little... It's hard with both guys not really having a ton of experience in the UFC, so you don't really know. And we've seen these type of fights. Anything can happen. I like JP buys at minus 145. I think you're getting good value there.
Well, value is always what we're trying to find here on this show, and you might be hard-pressed to find it in a straight wager coming up at men's bantamweight. Montel Jackson, minus 650 versus Jesse Strader, plus 450 on the pushback. The over 2.5 at plus 155. Ian, how do you see it going?
Yeah, look, you that was a nice little segue you had into that. You're getting good at this, bro. Montel Jackson's going to win this fight. There's no question. When, how, where. That's going to come down to how long Jesse Strader can really just not get rocked by Jackson's power. This is one of those fights, though, that you may be surprised when a guy taking a fight on short notice. It doesn't mean he's not prepared. It just means that there's an opportunity, and this is how he gets into the UFC. This is where I would say Montel Jackson in a parlay with Julija Avila, and then we're going to take a third parlay partner later on the card, someone who's probably going to be more closer to minus in the 200s, because then we may even get like a plus 115 out of it. So I would take Montel Jackson here.
Oh, hang on one sec. I get picking up that knowledge that Ian Parker's dropping on the show. If you want Ian's best bets, we're going to give picks for every fight on this card. So don't worry, you're going to get some analysis for free. But if you want Ian's best bets for Saturday, he's going to do a full detailed write-up for everybody that's subscribed to Coach Picks Plus or Parker's Picks. So make sure you go ahead, click all of our links on all of our social channels and go ahead and check that out so that you can get your money's worth. Coming up at middleweight, Trevin Giles minus 105 versus Roman Dolidze minus 125. The under 2.5 at minus 130. And I know you're excited for this fight. Fireworks are bound to ensue. Where do you see it going?
All right, so let me start with Trevin Giles. Trevin Giles, 2 fights ago, fought against James Krause. Krause stepped up in weight, took this fight up in no time. And I thought that James Krause actually should have won that fight. Split decision went Giles' way. He bounced back against a guy in Bevan Lewis that at one point was looked at as a good prospect. Giles showed that his cardio was better, the striking was there, his takedowns were there when needed them. And I just really felt that Giles didn't improve. However, he's going against a guy in Roman Dolidze that got screwed in a split decision win, as weird as that sounds. There was no split there. Roman absolutely won every single round of that fight. On top of that, I just think that Roman's got more tools to win. The only thing that Roman concerns me with is that he sometimes gets too comfortable dropping for those heel hooks and giving up position. In a situation like that, you don't want, if I'm Roman, I'm his coaches, I don't care if you're the best heel hook guy on planet Earth. Don't drop to your back too early in the fight where you can give Giles a round. Giles is good enough at grappling, especially on top, where his cardio won't be a problem for him at that point, where he could steal round one. If Roman keeps the fight standing or puts Giles on his back, Roman should cruise. Roman's got a very good push kick. He's got great strikes, and we've got a very good chin. I am shocked that Dolidze is only minus 125. I think we're being given a gift here based on being a split decision win in the last fight. Give me Roman Dolidze here.
Well, we're going to take Roman Dolidze to punch Trevin Giles in the mouth, but you do not want to punch a gift horse in the mouth when you're getting odds like that. Listen to Ian Parker there at minus 125. Coming up next at lightweight, Leonardo Santos plus 160 versus Grant Dawson minus 195. The under 2.5 there at plus 140. Ian, I know you just mentioned James Krause. He will probably be in the corner of Grant Dawson, but how do you see his fight going here against Santos?
Wow, this is a really, really, really tough fight to pick. Santos hasn't fought in a while, and then he came back and he won by knockout. Santos always surprises us. We saw him on the Ultimate Fighter show, and he was great. We know he's one of the best guys in the world in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and his stand-up just keeps getting better, but he doesn't fight a whole lot, right? Grant Dawson's probably one of the best prospects we have right now in the UFC. We are seeing a guy who just is bringing back that grounded pound game that it used to be very popular. And I know it's still popular now. Just when someone's so dominant in it and he's still able to do it when you know it's coming, he's a special type of fighter. But Dawson's striking is a little suspect right now. And I'm pretty sure that's what Krause is probably going to work on with that. Dawson has to be able to use these combinations, not get tagged by Santos, and be able to set up his shots without being put in a position to get guillotined or triangled. In his other fights, he's been able to rely on the takedown with ease and just advance with position. Here is going against a guy in Santos who is going to be very active off his back. If it goes there, it will be as dangerous as ever. For me, this is a very tough fight to bet. I actually kind of like the over here. I think if Dawson is going to dictate the pace of this fight, he will just be in top position a lot. I don't think he finishes Dawson by submission. I don't think he's going to be able to finish him. I think if the fight's there, if the fight's standing, Santos has the power to drop him. I'm going to lean Dawson here. I do think he'll be able to get the fight to the ground. I think he'll be able to control it. And I don't think he's going to haphazardly bull rush in with a guy like James Krause in your corner. I think that's going to be the biggest thing here is if you go and do tape on Santos, it's pretty simple. Hey, this guy can bang. He's got one of the best jiu-jitsu games in the world. So how do we enter safely while maintaining position? And I think this is a fight that Dawson's going to have to control on the ground and play it safe and grind out a decision win. So I will go with Dawson here.
Now, remember, the best bets are going to be on Parker's picks, but for that one, we're going to lean with it. Maybe not rock with it all the way there with Grant Dawson.
That's
the
a tough
featured.
one to rock with, I agree.
Right? Throwing it back there, Ian. I know we're kind of in the same generation there, but the kids will get that reference.
There you go.
Sus is another thing there. Talk about the striking. A little suspect. Coming up here in the prelim featured on ESPN2, women's bantamweight, Marion Reneau plus 180 versus Macy Chiasson minus 220. The under 2.5 there coming back at plus 170. Ian, you'll remember Macy Chiasson actually came into the UFC as a 145er during that very weird, tough season, I believe, right? So interesting to see her against a veteran Marion Reneau here on the featured prelim for ESPN2. How do you see it going?
So Macy in her last fight, kind of a letdown. This is going to be, for her, a tough bounce-back fight, in my opinion. I think if she sleeps on Marion Reneau, I think she's going to be in for a long night. Reneau is a very good grappler, physically strong, fast, got good hands. Macy, I don't think is just going to be able to, she seemed very hesitant last time. She seemed very slow, and she's been a favorite every single time, and she hasn't shown me that she's that big favorite she deserves to be. So you could take the over in this fight. I don't even care what the odds are. I don't think anyone's getting finished here. But if any a spot to place a little bit of money on an underdog, I think Marion Reneau should be no bigger than a plus 120 dog. The fact we're getting plus 180 in a situation where I think she's going to be the better striker, I think she has also fought the much higher level competition. We've seen it, and she's beaten fighters at a higher rank than Macy over the last few years. Do I think Macy is a good prospect still? Yes, I think she's got a ton of potential. I just think that when you're in a division with very little depth, you're rushed quite quickly. And stylistically, it happens. When she ran into Lena Landsberg is a tough, strong fighter with a great clinch game. And that's where Macy is supposed to be the better one. And we when you and I spoke about this, we said that Landsberg was going to probably give her fits. And that's exactly what happened. Reneau is a tough cookie, and she's really good at jiu-jitsu also. I like Reneau plus 180, and I like the over.
Well, and based on that analysis, Ian, I mean, you're looking at 15 minutes there where, a couple of minutes go one way, a couple of minutes go the other, with these judges sometimes being incredibly suspect. That's not a crazy thing that she maybe pulls out a decision that maybe she didn't win. And, that's where you're getting the value there. That's why you got to listen to a guy like Ian Parker, one of the best in the business. Coming up next, main card here, only on ESPN Plus. You got to be a subscriber there. Don't have any odds for this, but if I did, it would be from mybookie.ag, where you can use code CoachPicks if you're coming in as a first-time user. Tuivasa versus Harry Hunsucker here. A lot of alliteration. I can't even get out of my damn mouth. Ian, how do you see this fight going?
So I actually am familiar with Harry Hunsucker. And that is a fantastic name. If he does win, people are going to know him for a long time, and a lot of good jokes. And Derek Lewis will probably have a ton of fun with that on social media. Hunsucker is a good striker. He's a pretty good athlete for his size. However, I think Tuivasa is kind of getting back to that winning ways at the right time and doing the right things here. When he came to the UFC, he got a couple of knockouts, was kind of a jokester doing the shoeies. And I don't think he was as serious as he should have been because he was having early success against much lower ranked guys. Beating a guy in Stefan Struve as a comeback win to get back on the right path, fantastic. Struve, even though he's had an up and down career, still, that size and, Struve is still a well-rounded fighter. To go in there, dominate him, rock him, and totally take him out was awesome for Tuivasa's confidence. He's at AKA training, meaning he's working on that wrestling game. He's really trying to just get everything in order. He wants to get a shot, and he wants to be a top 5 guy. Now, obviously, beating Harry Hunsucker is not going to do that for him, but this is just another opportunity to showcase his skills, and I think Tuivasa will get this done.
Ooh, well, I love when you're singing that sweet chin music to me, Ian. Coming in with that value play there, I love it. Welterweight, are you going to sing a different tune here with Kenan at plus 160 versus Max Griffin, minus 200, the over 2.5 there, minus 195 for what I think we can agree was probably going to be a decision fight from a very, very durable pair here.
Yeah, look, we've seen Max Griffin have come from behind wins. We've seen him go the distance a lot. Same thing with Kenan. I think the over is a good play here. I think Max Griffin at minus 200 is a little too much for me to really throw my money on a straight play. But look, we've seen his submission game surprisingly be very effective. His striking gets a little bit better. My only concern with him sometimes is that he gets a little hesitant. He gets a little too comfortable thinking like, all right, maybe I'm ahead or maybe I'm landing the better strikes. And to your point earlier, you just can't rely on the judges, man. You really, really can't. There's no time for hesitancy in 3 rounds. And Kenan's kind of the same way here. He's a guy that doesn't mind taking one to give a better one. But we see sometimes with guys that are counter strikers like that, again, it's a waiting game. And if the fight goes to the ground, both guys are very difficult to finish. So in this situation, I like the over here.
Coming up next with a division with a new name on top, the bantamweight division in the UFC, Adrian Yanez minus 220 versus Gustavo Lopez plus 180, the over 2.5 there at plus 130. Ian, the odds say that we should be in for an exciting fight. How do you see this one going?
So we saw Gustavo Lopez come from combating America's Over, taking on Merab in that first fight. And yeah, we saw Merab do what Merab does and take down people 100 times. But what did we see? Gustavo Lopez didn't give up, was still delivering some nasty strikes, was getting out of a lot of submission attempts. And he took that fight on 5 days notice? So then when he came back and fought Anthony Burchak, nasty knockout. And Burchak's a tough guy. So we know that Lopez can fight. However, he's going against a guy in Adrian Yanez, which will be that part of the parlay that I was talking about earlier in the -2 range. Yanez is an animal. I think he is one of those guys that we see early in his career that they just have that it factor. The way, even though he's only got one fight from the Contender Series, we just know he's going to knock someone out. We know that he's confident, and what we're seeing out of him is the striking is very technical. It's accurate. He's not brawling. He's not getting lucky. He's got a tough fight here. This is a tough fight for your second one in the UFC. But listen, you knock him out in the Contender Series. You do it again in your first fight in the UFC. I like Adrian Yanez a lot here. I think he's actually going to be that spotlight guy that we should keep an eye on throughout his career. I think he gets it done I don't know if he actually finishes Lopez. Lopez is very tough, but I think Yanez is a safe play here to get the win.
Well, once again, everybody, these are just leans. These are just picks that I'm making Ian kind of do on the spot. If you want the best analysis, you need to sign up for Parker's Picks or for Coach Picks Plus. There you're going to get the stuff that we keep behind the paywall for damn good reason. We got to make sure that we're making a little bit on the side too when everybody else is taking tickets to the pay window. Now, Ian, a parlay that you talked to me about before we got on the show ends here. Cheyanne buys -350 versus Montserrat Ruiz +275. These women's strawweights are fighting Saturday night on ESPN Plus. Over 2.5 there, -255. Ian, where do you see this fight going?
Yeah, look, Cheyanne buys, obviously the other half of JP buys. That'd be kind of cool to do a married couple parlay. I know we talked about that. And if you want to throw Cheyanne buys in a parlay, I'm good there. She looked fantastic on the Contender Series. She looked like she was absolutely ready for the UFC. And it's funny because we see a lot of guys get into the UFC too. And I think when Dana does this show, sometimes he picks the best people that night. And sometimes because there's not a whole lot of finishes, sometimes he just gives guys contracts that he thinks on a development deal. But that night that she fought, I thought she was the most impressive, period. Not between the men and the women. I just thought overall throughout the entire season, she might have been a top 5 person to keep an eye on. And again, within the women's divisions, we don't see a ton of depth. There's a lot of recycled fights just because there's a big difference between 1 and 5 and then 6 through 10 and so forth. Cheyanne buys deserves to be -350 here. Again, in a straight bet, very difficult. I like her in a parlay as well.
Well, I absolutely love that, Ian. We're going to move swiftly into the co-main event.
Let's go.
Bringing us here, Gregor, the Gift Gillespie, returns to the octagon 16 months after a devastating KO loss to Kevin Lee, the first of his career. The former collegiate wrestling standout enters the cage looking to end a 6-fight win streak for Brad Quake Riddell, the city kickboxing teammate of 185-pound champion Israel Adesanya, who has fought twice since Gregor's last bout, and he boasts 5 career KO finishes, none of which, however, since July of 2019. Ian, Gregor Gillespie is a -255 favorite versus Brad Riddell at +200. The over 2.5 at -115. How do you see this fight going?
Well, look, we've seen Brad Riddell. He's extremely tough. He won a split decision where it came down to the 3rd round, and another one where he won a unanimous decision. And he is a guy that we've seen. He's tough on the feet. He's going to be surprising. He's got some power. I don't really think he's got that knockout power per se in this division, but he lands and he's got good cardio. However, he has not fought someone like Gregor Gillespie. And if you're going to judge Gregor's career thus far based on a head kick by Kevin Lee, then just switch to a different channel. Okay. Because Gregor Gillespie, you need to go watch this guy. He came into the UFC. Everyone's like, oh, wrestler. He was knocking people out. He was submitting people. He wasn't just, riding and grinding here. He's always advancing position. He's relentless. I mean, the dude, his cardio is nonstop. His path to victory here, and I think because of the last knockout, he's going to be way more conservative with the striking, not in regards to not throwing, but the striking is going to be to set up the takedown. Brad Riddell is not going to be a threat jiu-jitsu-wise for Gregor, but I think Gregor is going to be a little hesitant based on getting knocked out. Now, if you listen to what Gregor said in the interview this week, he goes, look, I am absolutely not thrown off. My career has not been deterred. Nothing changes. I got caught. It happens in the sport. I got caught by a guy that was a top 5 guy at the time. That was a huge step up for me. And he even said, I don't think I should be bumped back at all. But listen, I lost. It is what it is. Guys that are wrestlers know how to deal with losses. They don't just say, okay, I lost. I'm done. Listen, the guy got kicked in the freaking temple. It happens, right? This should be a smooth win for Gregor. I think a clean 3-round. Either he gets a submission or he gets the unanimous decision. And honestly, I think -255 is a steal on a straight bet. I like Gregor the Gift Gillespie. I think that this is a very good bounce back fight for him. And look, Brad Riddell, if he does lose this fight, which I think he will, there's no shame in that either. This is a good experience thing for him as well. He needs to fight a guy in Gregor who's going to threaten him in a different way outside of brawling. So give me Gregor here.
Hey, and that's coming from someone who's been in the wrestling room with Chris Weidman. So, you knuckleheads in the comments, trying to say that Ian Parker doesn't know what he's talking about. The guy knows what he's talking about.
I love
all of that. bringing us into the main event of the evening, a huge test at middleweight for the rising star Kevin Big Mouth Holland. The 21-5 Travis Lutter product contender for 2020 Fighter of the Year had 4 wins. He competed 5 times in the year if you include BJJ. He was scheduled for 11 total opponents in the calendar year. He'll face a perennial top 10 middleweight in Derek Brunson. The 21-7 Carolina stalwart of the division walks in having last lost to Israel Adesanya, a fight that I was actually present for at MSG back in November of 2018. Absolutely dismantling, by the way. He thinks that he has made the adjustments to replace that result. He's gone 3-0 since then, but he's only fought once last year. He comes in as a plus 150 underdog versus Kevin Holland at minus 180. The under 2.5 is minus 115. This is a 5-round fight in the main event. Ian, where do you see this going?
So look, we were in a similar position with Derek Brunson in that last fight with Edmund Shabazian, where he was the veteran, the underdog, and Edmund was this big favorite because he was knocking people out and he was looking fantastic doing it. One of the things that we discussed, though, was that with Edmund, look, he's fine. If he doesn't get the knockout in round 1, what happens? What if Derek is able to out-wrestle him and then pound on him? And that's exactly what happened. The difference here is we've seen Kevin Holland do all that. We saw him lose to Brendan Allen, right? We saw him get taken down by Jacare Souza. And look what happened. Holland is just a fighter that has already seen defeat. Okay, I believe to Thiago Santos as well earlier on in his career, and they even showed the highlight package, I believe, today on social media where he was just talking nonstop. The thing with Kevin Holland is that not only has Derek Brunson made adjustments, but I think Kevin Holland's made more adjustments if you look at what he's done. He's fought guys from Joaquin Buckley all the way against Jacare on short notice. In the Jacare fight, I've never seen a guy get taken down by Jacare, have no issue off his back against Jacare, and then knock him out from his knees, in general. That was wild. But this is what Kevin Holland does. He's very confident in his way. He's got a good coach in Travis Lutter. He's very well-rounded. He's going to be the better striker of the two. Brunson may carry more power, but Holland, I think, is going to have the better cardio. His calf kicks are nasty. If he calf kicks Derek Brunson, then wrestling is out the window. And I think if Brunson does get him down, I don't think Holland's going to have an issue getting back up. I do think Kevin Holland gets the win here. I think this is going to be another big name on his resume. And then after this fight, we're going to see Kevin Holland probably look for a top 3 guy, and it'll be well-deserved. At minus 180, I think there's tremendous value in Kevin Holland. If he never fought Jacare, I'd have a harder time being as confident. But I think if Jacare fought Derek Brunson right now, I would choose Jacare for all the same reasons. I like Kevin Holland here. I think he beats Derek Brunson. I do not think it goes the full 5 rounds either. Brunson is not known for his cardio. And I just think Holland is just built different. This guy is so well-rounded. And I just think with all the adjustments he's really made, he backs up that talk. Kevin Holland's a superstar in the making. I will go with him.
Well, speaking of superstars in the making, Ian Parker, everybody, you can follow him at Ian Parker MMA on all the social platforms. Make sure you're getting involved in the discourse there during fight nights. Ian loves to do that. You're going to want to go to Coach's Picks to get Ian's best bets. Once again, all lines courtesy mybookie.ag. Promo code CoachPicks on your first deposit there to get a little bonus. Thank you to all you listeners out there. Make sure you follow along, subscribe, share with your friends. This has been a Coach Picks production. Ian, thank you so much. This has been just a great time. I'm glad that we get to do this every week. And the next one's a pay-per-view, so I'm going to get swapped out. So it was great being here, and we'll be back. Trust me.
Always do trust you, my man. You're the GOAT. We got you.
And with that, everybody, thank you so much. Let's take it straight to the pay window. Later.